What's up, Flat Earth family? How you doing? Just a quick service announcement here. Unfortunately, I had an SD card failure on my little recording device part of the way through the... don't worry, that's not it burning. That's a cigar. SD card failure part of the way through the recording of this. So the sound quality will drop. Apologies for that. I didn't want to do a re-record because I was in a flow. But yeah, just a little bit of a heads up. Sorry about that. I'll keep a closer eye on it in future. Anyway, enjoy. What's up, Flat Earth family? How you doing? I hope this video finds you well. There is no in-studio guest this week. It's just me and you, just having a little chitty chat. So just going to be quick in and out. While I've got you, if you would please, if you want to find out anything more about the podcast, go to our website, theflatearthpodcast.com. That's flat with 2 T's. There you'll find like previous episodes, links to our Spotify audio feed, blogs and other stuff. There's even a little PayPal button on there. If you want to buy a brother an Igloo or, a soda stream, you go for it. If you're watching us on YouTube, please do me a favor. Just take a moment to like and subscribe, and also to press the little bell icon thing and select all so that you get updates of videos whenever they come up. We do pretty much every Thursday there's this video podcast, and then on a Tuesday and a Friday at the moment we have videos based around our Project 1046 series that's going on. Weigh-ins on a Friday and kind of pro tip updates every Tuesday. There you go. That information's done. Please connect in whatever way you want. Make comments on the website. There's an email. If you wanted me to talk about anything in particular, or you know of someone you think would be great, they're in my sort of area of the world, like Hertfordshire, a guest I could have on, love to do it. Anyway, I've been thinking a bit about stories and the power of stories, the power of narrative, the power of painting some sort of journey in words or in video to get across some sort of message or meaning. And this has come to me in a couple of ways. Firstly, this week I've done a bit of writing, which is really good, really trying to structure my week differently. So I do video stuff like this, but then also fill my days with writing, which is actually the day job at the moment. I am kind of an aspiring writer. I'm kind of taking a few years out of whatever was my career before this to really learn how to write and convey narrative and do character and, just learn how to become an author, not just someone who can write my name or write a quick paragraph or something or a poem or a ditty, but actually do long form writing. And I love stories. At the moment I have a book that I'm working on. It's kind of represented up here on the wall. I'm kind of editing, so finished 50,000 words manuscript. I've got another book I'm working on about dreams, which I'm really enjoying as well. And then I've got like a little side piece, a little hustle over here, which I'm really enjoying, which is taking up too much of my imagination and time. It's a little fictional, sort of a children's book, kind of. And I love it. I'm spending my days inhabiting this world that is, I say I'm writing, but it's also coming to me. I'm kind of discovering it. These characters, young and old and regular and peculiar, and I'm learning how to write the narrative structure, and I'm understanding what this book is going to be. And I'm just constantly reminded as I'm doing it, enjoying it, and it's making me laugh and making me, cry and surprising me, and I'm writing characters and thinking I know this character's going to die. I know I'm going to kill this character off in a heart-wrenching way, or a funny way, or whatever it is. The power of story is something that goes through the history of all people. You go into the pyramids and you find the hieroglyphics on the wall. You find the little drawings, the first scribbling on caves of early man, as you might call him. What is it? It's story. It's trying to convey something of their culture, their opinions, their feelings, their experiences in some sort of narrative so that we can understand it. And as people, we function in stories. I love stories. I love telling stories. I really do. I love it when something funny happens in life. I don't care what it's about. I love to tell people about it. I love to hear stories. It's brilliant. I've spent the last nearly a decade, meeting with pretty much the same group of men once a fortnight, and we share stories with one another, not made up stories, but stories about our life, our experiences, good, bad, our marriages, and having children, and having work go well and work go bad, and disappointments and frustrations. Story is an amazing gift that humanity has. To be able to hear someone's story, to be able to put your experiences in a story, is just it's a bewilderingly unique to humanity thing. I don't think bumblebees are telling stories around a campfire. I don't think that my dog, bless him, beautiful as he is, has much of a story to tell. But I do. And you do, we do, people have a story, and everything we do is kind of wrapped up in stories. You know, my mum, I often take the mick out of my mum, because if you ask my mum anything, like, so she'll tell you about maybe this experience happened to her. And I'm someone, and this is quite an impatient man thing, I sometimes, I want the headline, then I want the body of what actually happened. You know, so my mum will tell me like something happened, and I'm like, okay, what happened? My mum won't tell me like just the quick headline. She'll go, well, a couple of years ago, or she'll go, well, I once met a man, or well, I was last Tuesday, I was at Tesco's. She starts way back over here beyond the result which I want. The result's here, I want this, but she starts way back over here. Story, you know. We love a good story. And one of the things that's made me want to talk about this tonight is this current conflict between Russia and Ukraine over here in Europe, right? I know I'm in the UK, I'm an island, but we're still Europe, right? It's been very interesting watch it going on. It's not right now affecting me, other than like maybe price of fuel and stuff like that. It's not really directly affecting me. I don't know where you live as you're listening to this. Maybe it is directly affecting you, but for most of us, I would imagine it's not affecting us directly. But there's been a couple of times the last few weeks where one of my daughters, or one of either of my daughters, I've got my daughters are 11 and 13, have said, "Daddy, is it going to be a World War III?" And I've had to go, no, what are you talking about? Or another one said, there was a noise the other day, like somewhere outside, and one of my daughters was like, "What's that?" I said, it's just a helicopter going over. She, I thought it was like a Russian bomb coming to kill us. And I was like, where's that come from? Like, they're not watching the news. They're not getting up and saying, "Come on, Daddy, let's get downstairs and watch the news." No, man. They get up, they want a chocolate waffle, want to watch a bit of YouTube, or my older one just wants to spend time like kind of getting herself ready for school or whatever. So where's it coming from? Why are they suddenly thinking like that this conflict, thousands upon thousands of miles away, is going to result somehow in Putin bombing my house in Welwyn Garden City? What's gone on? Story has gone on. Narrative has gone on. For as long as I remember, going back deep into my childhood and my first experience of like Arnold Schwarzenegger films and a lot of the action films in the 80s, which I was raised on, the enemy was always the Russian. Come on, you'll know this if you're a child like me. I was, born in 1976 and raised up through the 80s and into the 90s. That every bad guy in every film that you knew straight away you couldn't trust was the Russian. And I think somehow that is connected somehow to my daughter at breakfast thinking nuclear war's about to break out in Hertfordshire, right? Somehow the narrative that got painted mainly by, I guess, American culture in the main was Russians bad, enemy, and the rest of us okay, we're good, and the evil Russians are going to come in, they're up to something, they can't be trusted. And I was like, wow, even my little children have picked this up. Story. That's the narrative. For a couple of years, the Russians, the bad guys in movies had some time off, right? There's been a real resurgence, or there was a real resurgence of English people. English people for a while in Hollywood were the go-to baddies, the English guy. Or actually for a while, around after 9/11, every baddie in every film was of Middle Eastern descent, right? We know that. So for a while, it was like, okay, Russians, hold my beer. I've got this. Do you know what I mean? So Al Qaeda, the Taliban, whatever, they were the bad guy in every film. But now, back in vogue, the bad guy's the Russian. Now, I'm not saying, I don't understand geopolitics. I'm not into that. Okay, so don't hear me saying that I think this is made up, or that I think Russia is in the right or anything. I don't. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not qualified really to talk about any of stuff. All I'm saying is I've noticed that the grand narrative of nations that I have witnessed in my culture has largely painted the Russian people as bad. And that's spilt over now into my daughter or my daughters looking at news and hearing little tidbits and stuff at school and just going, we should be really afraid. Now, who knows what's gonna happen? Who knows if this might actually end up in some really gnarly shit for many of us? That this might blow up beyond Russia dealing with Ukraine, but Russia going forward and Russia linking up with China and who knows what, and all of a sudden you are into some sort of worldwide war kind of scenario. I don't know. But I do know that the power of story has been harnessed and is being harnessed to have us not come to many scenarios in our life clean, fresh, blank, but we come already with narratives given to us about how things are. So that's grand war over here, but maybe it's race. Maybe the narrative, because one of the other narratives you see in films, and it's much, much better now, but when I was growing up, you know, if it wasn't a Russian, it was someone who wasn't my complexion, who was going to be the bad guy, who was going to be the thief, who was going to be the criminal. Story. And we've been going through a lot, and we've done some great podcasts, discussions around race. Please check them out. Anytime you go through the feed and you see me and a guy called Shabazz L. Graham, we've done 3 conversations now around race and racism. They were well worth looking at, not because I'm a great revelation of understanding, but because Shabazz is just a wizard at talking through his experience, and with his wisdom and his intelligence and his even-handedness about this stuff. But I've noticed that many people's experience of other nations and other peoples, that they're not clean in the sense of they don't come to them pure, but they already come with a bias that came from a narrative that was pushed. Story's so powerful. So powerful. I met with a guy today who's a great guy, a friend of mine, and love him dearly. And he's moving away. He's moving away to the other side of the world. And we sat and chatted about last few years and some changes. He knew me when I was a pastor, and he's seen that I've moved over now to try and to do what I'm doing now, which is, if you don't know, if you've not kind of listened to anything else, I'm trying to learn how to write at the moment. Like, not write like I know how to write, but long form, write books, sort of not self-help, but like people help books, and now some fiction books, and just some books about how people change and about how the nature of dreams and stuff works in their life. So that's my kind of day job, if I've got one. I do this podcast, do video stuff, but really what I'm trying to do is learn how to really tackle and hopefully master the art of like long form writing of stories and character and narrative, you know. So I met with him today and we were just chatting, and he said, like, you seem really happy at the moment. Like, do you really enjoy what you're doing? I was like, yeah, I love what I'm doing at the moment, man. Like my 3 jobs at the moment, if you like, is the main one is learning how to write. The second one is this podcast, and the third one is like YouTube. So we're kind of doing more YouTube stuff. I'm just about to start a second channel, just doing Rick's like random reviews of everything, like watches and cars and tech and food and whatever. Just review, quick 4 to 6 minute review stuff. Look out for that. It's coming in the next month or so. And I said, yeah, I love what I do. I love what I do. And I just got to work out how to get paid. I just got to work out how can I continually do these 3 things, or versions of these 3 things, for the rest of my life, but get paid. That's the trick, really. But I realised what I love about them is they are all story. Just this simple podcast. What we are like, 15-minute podcast. We're going to make another 5-10 minutes or something, right? But it's story, right? I'm laying something out for you here. In the writing, I'm telling a story. I've realised with making even the short YouTube video things I do, which aren't massively produced or budgeted, but they're about story, small, quick stories. We love it, right? We love it. Stories are super powerful. So I thought to myself, if there is a world war, if this does grow into a massive conflict, or at the very least, suddenly the price of everything goes through the roof because of the conflict, and we suffer some form of rationing and some form of loss in certain areas of our freedoms or whatever, I thought, I still want to commit my life to stories. If the end of the world is coming, then I want to recommit myself to telling great stories. Because bad stories, bad narratives that tell you to hate someone because of the colour of their skin or because of their culture or because of their religion, that they won't go away on their own. What you need is a better story. You need a better narrative. You need someone to tell you and give you a new angle on it. And I thought to myself, actually, these 3 things I'm doing, and I'm trying my best to learn and get better at them, but they're really important. The storytellers of culture are really important. And one of the dangers we've got right now is we have very loud megaphones of storytelling and narrative. And at times they're overwhelmingly singular, or rather the powers that generate them are singular. They have a very particular narrative. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've got a narrative right now. I'm trying to talk to you about something. I'm writing books. They're trying to talk to you about very exact things. The problem with stories, if there is such a thing as problem with stories, is when there's only one. There's only one story. And you believe it or you don't. But what we really need is a myriad, a plethora, a multifaceted kind of expression of stories where we all get to explain life as we found it, people as we have found them and experienced them. So I look at this conflict and I realise, because every Russian in every film ever has been the baddie, my instant reaction is to go, oh, Russia, bad. So Ukraine must be great. But I don't know anything about Ukraine. And I don't really know a lot about Russian culture. I know Putin's like a mad gangster. I know he's like the world's longest reigning leader. I know he's crazy. I know he rides like horse on bareback. And, it's just mad. He's like, I said to someone the other day that Putin is essentially Genghis Khan in the modern age. I don't know if you know about Genghis Khan, a warlord who killed millions and millions of people, and whose warriors did so much pillaging and raping, they changed the bloodline, where it's said at a certain point in history that 10% of all people on earth shared some kind of Mongol sort of DNA, madness. They killed so many people, put so many bodies in the ground. They changed the carbon footprint of the earth. Putin is like a hangover from that age, right? He's not been voted for. He just is. It's crazy. It's a crazy story if you think about it. But I'm watching this all unfold, and I'm seeing lots of comments. We're all in part of WhatsApp groups. We're all in different little areas of the world, and I'm seeing people comment, and I'm seeing the narrative of giant Russia slaps tiny innocent Ukraine. But I actually know, because I've met people, that none of us are truly innocent. None of us are truly good. None of us are truly evil. We're all those things at different times. And I think it's really important that we all unpack our lives and tell stories. And this isn't about bullet points. This isn't about you're wrong and I'm right. It's actually about listening to story and coming to some understanding of where people are coming from. Now, again, I'm no expert. I've got no right to speak about geopolitics and the nature of war and conflict in countries and pacts between countries and all that. I'm not talking about that really. I'm just saying I found it very interesting the way this is being framed. Very interesting. And I guess for me, if there is going to be a world war, will I live in panic and stop doing what I'm doing? No. I'll keep telling stories. I'll keep writing kids' stories. I'll keep writing characters, men, women, young and old, getting up to stuff. When I'm with my friends, I'll tell them stories about my day and I'll listen to stories about their day. And it will help shape my world. But when you only have one particular story presented you and this is it, this is the entire narrative here, and there's no option, that's a kind of dangerous place to be in, right? When it comes to the end of the world, stories are more important than anything, really. They really are. In the book of Proverbs, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, Solomon's writing and he says, better to spend your time at funerals than at weddings. It's a weird kind of messed up verse, right? None of us, if you're like me, when I was a pastor, I gave funerals of people I knew and people who were my friends and people I had no idea of, and young people and old people. I did funerals. I don't know how you say it, presented, led them, and I did weddings. I married people, friends, and people I didn't know, and young and old, so I've experienced not only going to them as a friend of whoever's getting married, but going there as someone officiating. That's a good word, officiating these. And I think we'd always choose weddings because there's joy and the story is beautiful. How we met, the best man's story about the groom. The bridesmaid story. About the bride. We love this stuff. The narrative, right? We love it. But you have funerals as well, and there's something about funerals. When you go to a funeral, people's lives get encapsulated in a particular way, don't they? Like at weddings, we never say, the bride never says, well, I'm marrying him. He's a bit of an arsehole, but best I could do. Time's getting on, TikTok, want a baby. No one ever says that. It's always the romance of the century. No one ever stands up at a funeral and says, look, he was an arsehole. I'm here because, I just feel like socially I should be here. I feel like a societal responsibility because I sort of knew him or worked for him, but I won't miss him. No one ever says that. We paint these other pictures. We use those moments to encapsulate the story of that person's life in a different way. So going back to my man in Proverbs, better to spend your time at funerals than weddings. And I think what he's saying is to understand that funerals have a way of making you realise what's important. You go to a funeral of someone, if you've ever been to a funeral of someone your age or younger, it will make you consider what you do for the rest of your day, your week, your month. It will make you think, wow, have I got enough time to do what I need to do, to tell my stories the way I want them told? Stories are powerful. And I don't want any of us to be filled with panic and worry about this Russia-Ukraine situation. But maybe it wouldn't do us too bad to just go, actually, okay, let's live in this story for a minute. What if? And go, what is important for me to give my time to? What should I really invest in right now? For me, if this is the end of the world, you'll find me in this cabin writing stories. You'll find me around the campfire telling stories and listening to stories. Because in those narratives are people and the things of life. Anyway, that's me. That's all I've got to say, really.